So you think you need SEO for your website. You kind of understand what SEO is, but you're really not sure how much you should be paying for it and what you should expect as a result. You see SEO agencies charging anywhere from $300 a month to $30,000 a month. Some might be guaranteeing you results that seem too good to be true. You've heard about other companies that got burned by SEO. You see all these headlines saying SEO is dead, and that makes it really scary to commit to an SEO contract or to know if your current SEO agency is doing what they're supposed to be doing. By the end of this video, you should feel confident going into any conversation with an SEO agency because we're going to be going over the 5 things you need to know before paying for SEO. My name's TJ Robertson. I've been doing SEO for 16 years and I've had hundreds of conversations with clients that just really didn't know if they were getting ripped off by their current SEO agency. And so for this video, I've just taken all the advice I've ever given a client and broken it into 5 categories. The truth is there are a lot of great SEO agencies out there and there are a lot of terrible SEO agencies. And I'm always happy to share my thoughts on whether or not you're getting ripped off. Because SEO is so mysterious for most businesses, there are a lot of businesses out there that are very happy with their SEO agency because they don't realize they're getting ripped off. And there are also businesses out there that are pretty sure they're getting ripped off by their SEO agency, but they really just had too high of expectations. So let's go through everything you need to know so that you can tell the difference. The first is to have realistic expectations. What should you expect when you're paying for SEO? Now, your first thought might be, well, that depends on how much you're paying, right? The more I pay, the more I should expect to get. And yes, budget and resources are definitely a factor, but it's not the biggest factor. So the first question to ask, of course, is, do I need SEO at all? Well, that depends. Are people going to Google or large language models like ChatGPT to search for the thing you're offering? If so, then you definitely want some SEO. There are almost always a few little tweaks you can make to significantly increase your visibility in search engines and large language models. And every year, people are becoming more and more reliant on these algorithms to find businesses like you. Now, right now, a lot of that traffic is transitioning from traditional search engines into AI. So a little bit later, we'll talk about how to make sure the agency you're working with is keeping up with that transition. That being said, SEO is not the only thing that determines your ranking. And this might feel counterintuitive, and it's not something that a lot of SEO agencies are going to tell you, but you can't just SEO your way to the top of Google's rankings. That used to work when Google's algorithms were much dumber, but algorithms are smart now. And most of the time, Google is going to show the biggest, most well-known, trusted, established brands. It is very hard to outrank a brand that is 10 times your size or has 10 times as much brand authority in Google. Now, that doesn't mean you can't outrank larger brands. It just means that you need to understand the league that you're playing in. SEO can help you get to the top of your league. There's no reason why you can't use SEO to outrank every company that's about as big and established as you are. And if there are under-optimized companies above you, you can even outrank them. Authority Hackers has this concept I really like called the corridor. You exist within a corridor, and these optimizations can help you get to the top of that corridor. Now, getting to the next corridor means that you have to become a bigger, more well-known, authoritative brand. And SEO can be a big part of this move up, but it can't be the entire thing. SEO should not be your entire marketing campaign. You need to make sure that your website accurately represents your brand, that you have a strong offer and product, and of course it can also help to have a strong presence on social media or run some advertising campaigns. So yes, you should be doing some SEO, but just know when you're talking with an SEO agency, most of them are going to talk as if SEO is going to solve all your marketing problems. And very few of them are going to tell you when you're starting to get diminishing returns with SEO, although that inevitably does happen. SEO is a long-term process, of course. You should see some results within the first month. If you've never done SEO before, there are always quick wins to bump you up in that first month. But after that, it should be a very slow process, which means that every month you're getting a little bit more than you did the month before. And that makes it really easy for SEO agencies to just keep charging you the same amount. You're always getting at least what you got last month. However, over time, as you're reaching the top of your corridor, that month-to-month increase is going to slow down. And if you're not utilizing other forms of marketing, like website design or Google Ads or social media, moving some of that budget into one of those other mediums is going to be more effective at moving you up than SEO is alone. And I did want to mention one exception to the competitive reality. The one time you can outrank competitors that are 10 times your size is if you have the term you're trying to rank for in the name of your business. Now, for most businesses, it's too late to do this. You can change the title of your Google business profile, but there are some slight risks to that. But if you're starting a new business, It's something to think about. Number 2, be wary of guarantees. SEO is very unpredictable. Now, if your SEO agency knows what they're doing, SEO is almost always worth it long term. But if an SEO agency is guaranteeing you results, they're almost definitely either lying to you or tricking you. So if they're not just outright lying, they might be tricking you by saying something like, "We'll guarantee rank 1 positioning within 3 months." Now, this sounds great, right? Okay, cool. I have to be rank 1 in Google or I don't have to pay anything. The problem is, rank 1 doesn't mean anything if you don't know what term you're going to be rank 1 for. And so the agencies that guarantee this are almost always picking a term that no one is competing for. It might be a brand term like your company name, or just a very specific term for which you have virtually no competition. And ranking for a term like that is very easy. You just have to make a page with that term in the title, and since there's no other page online on that topic, it'll pretty easily rank number 1. Now, there is one small exception to this. There are agencies that do pay for performance, meaning you only pay if they actually get you leads from SEO. However, I would generally advise against this. You're essentially entering a partnership with someone, and so you need to make sure you trust them. It can actually be really hard to determine if a lead came from organic search and whether or not you would have gotten that lead without their help. And so if this isn't someone that you would feel safe giving equity in your business to, I would stay away from this kind of arrangement. The good SEO agencies out there are not going to guarantee you results. I'm always happy to give a prediction about what kind of results we might expect, and I might give a range, but I'm always very careful to make sure they understand that no one can predict SEO. If you want predictable results, go with Google Ads. Although, if you're doing Google Ads, I still recommend doing at least a little bit of SEO, because again, that first little bit goes a long way. All right, number 3, many SEOs are not actually SEOs. And I know that sounds weird. You see, a lot of people who consider themselves SEOs were just trained by an SEO agency to do specific tasks. Many of these SEO agencies systematize their processes so that they can easily replace and train anyone on their team. So if you're working for one of these agencies doing SEO tasks all day, every day for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, you feel like you're an SEO. You might even call yourself an SEO expert. The thing though is that SEO is as much an art as it is a science. And that's largely because the algorithms change every single day. And now they're changing at a faster and faster rate. So it's very important that the person in charge of your strategy has a first principles understanding of how the algorithms work. That's the only way you're going to be able to keep up with the changes as fast as they're happening right now. If the person coming up with your strategy is relying on the tactics they've used up until now, and they're just waiting for new best practices to come out before they update their tactics, they're going to get left behind, which means you're going to get left behind. So when you talk with an SEO agency, it's very important to talk with the person who's going to be developing the strategy for your campaign. And they should be able to explain the strategy to you in a way that makes sense. If you find they're using a bunch of technical terms and they're telling you it doesn't matter if you understand how it works, just trust us, that's a clear sign they don't really understand how it works. But I know it can be very hard to evaluate this yourself, so I've written you some questions you can ask your SEO agency. First, just ask them to explain how Google ranks websites. A very open-ended general question. If they struggle to explain this, they probably don't have a first principles understanding. 2, ask them how their process has changed since last year. They should be able to answer this offhand. If they struggle to tell you what's changed about their process since last year, that means they're not moving fast enough. Likewise, ask them to predict how they think their process might change in the next 1 or 2 years. If they don't already have some thoughts ready on this, it means they're not thinking about it enough. Next, ask them, how will you know if the campaign is working? This is a really good way to get them to specify what results they expect, even if they can't guarantee those results. Make a note of this. Pretty much every agency is going to be sending you monthly or quarterly reports. It is very easy for them to highlight the wins and ignore the losses, or blame Google's algorithm updates for the losses. But if they've already defined for you what constitutes success, it'll be much easier to hold them accountable when the results don't match up with their expectations. Now again, SEO is predictable, so you shouldn't assume they're bad at their job if the results don't match their expectations. It's just if they're coming to you saying, it's working, everything's going great, but it doesn't match their expectations, then you know they're not being honest with you. The truth is some campaigns will wildly exceed our expectations, while other campaigns will struggle to gain traction. And hopefully I've made that clear, but you are placing a bet with SEO. Now, if you're with a good agency, it is a safe bet. It's a good bet to make. It's like making a smart investment, but it is a bet. And the last question is to ask them how they determine the best allocation of resources. A lot of SEO agencies are using a cookie cutter strategy to save on cost, and they're really not paying enough attention to which efforts are providing the results. You want to make sure they're thinking about this in a way that's going to maximize your return on investment. All right, number 4, SEO isn't a product. I've probably made this clear already. Every SEO campaign is unique. And most agencies are going to give you a list of services they provide that says things like keyword research and content creation and 2 backlinks every month. The truth is, lists like this are really meaningless. And that's because each of these terms can mean so many different things. Keyword research, content creation, backlinks, these are all meaningless if you don't know the quality. And you as a business owner aren't really in a position to assess the quality. Now, I do think it's important that your agency makes it very clear what you should expect on a month-by-month basis. Just know that every agency's deliverables are going to look very different, and I don't want you to get too hung up on the actual items they're going to be giving you. Just because this agency says they'll give you 1 blog post a month and this agency says they'll give you 10 blog posts a month doesn't mean you're getting more with a 10 blog posts a month agency. In fact, a lot of times bigger numbers can actually be a sign of trouble. If an agency is promising 10 backlinks a month for you for $500, that's a pretty clear sign that those backlinks are very low quality. And in the worst case scenario, their efforts could actually be harming your rankings. So make sure they're telling you exactly what they're going to give you every month, but don't get too hung up on the quantity or the details. It's much more important that you trust this agency and that the person coming up with your strategy knows what they're talking about. Now, I'm going to tell you the last one in just a second, but I hope you're already feeling a little more confident going into these conversations. However, I would love to help you feel even more confident. So if you would like me to review any agency agreement or do an audit of your website, just go to tjrobertson.com, fill out the form at the bottom of the page, and I'll get right back to you. All right, the last thing to know is that you need to be involved in the process. If you've signed up with an agency and they're collecting your logins and then they're not really asking too much from you, that's a pretty clear signal that they're not doing high quality work. The truth is, any good SEO campaign involves high quality content creation. And without a ton of input from you as the business owner, the agency can really only create generic content. Now, of course, as a business owner, you don't have a bunch of time and you don't want to be spending hours every week. That's why you hired these people to do your SEO for you. This is why I start every campaign with a 90 to 120 minute discovery call. Now, other agencies might do it differently, and I'm definitely not saying this is the only way to do it, but this is the best way I've found to spare my clients time and still get everything I need to create content on their brand's behalf. I just put together a comprehensive list of questions and get the client talking about their business, so I have all customer-facing information we might ever need when creating content. Whatever the agency's process is, it's very important that they have your involvement so they're representing your brand well online. Without that, they're just doing templated, cookie-cutter work with generic content, and that's very unlikely to get you the results you're looking for. Congratulations for making it to the end of the video. If you're still feeling unsure about your agency or how to hire one, leave a comment below. Let me know what I didn't cover. I promise I'll respond to every comment, and if there's a lot of requests, I'll make a follow-up video addressing whatever's still bothering you.